Still Snoop Dogg and D.I.
Good evening, Nova Nation, and happy Hump Day. We are here on February 8th, 2023, this Wednesday night, for Villanova to get its rematch with DePaul on Jalen Brunson jersey retirement. That's right, I won't make it a habit out of wearing tank tops to Tip Time, but we are donning the Jalen Brunson Knicks jersey this evening. And having so much emotion in the building tonight will hopefully spark our guys into their next winning streak, with the next 3 games being tonight versus DePaul, Saturday versus Seton Hall at the Finn, and then a Valentine's Day rematch with Butler before things get a whole lot tougher for the Cats in their remaining games down the stretch. But before we get into our Jalen Brunson highlights and then reintroducing DePaul tonight, let's talk first briefly about moving on from last week. And by that, of course, I mean Villanova's 0-3 week, starting at home with a loss against Providence, on the road Wednesday night at Marquette with another close, tough, late loss, and again Saturday night at Creighton. It seemed to be a make-or-break week for the Cats as far as potential for an at-large bid to the NCAA tournament goes, and it appears now that Villanova has to go Big East tournament or bust, as, again, the Cats held late leads in all 3 of these games against tournament-caliber teams before ultimately going cold down the stretch in each and failing to close any of them out. Each game last week seemed somehow more painful than the last. I think it's because the Cats are something. I think they're like 4-11 or 4-12 in single-digit games. And each game throughout last week sort of progressively got even more down to the wire and just, struggled to see that the team fail to break through. So the most important thing to say in moving on from last week is that if it's this hard for you and me as the emotionally invested fan, let's call it, what do you think it's like for the guys in this locker room? They're fighting. That's evidenced by the fact that they're in every game late and that they haven't given up on this team by any stretch of the imagination. They just got Justin Moore back, who is clearly working his comfort level on the court back to full throttle gradually, and he's not quite there yet. The time for moral victories, though, is over. But damn, do I think we have a good team here somewhere, and they've got fight left in them. I'm not willing to close the book on this season. This is not one of those years where you have a team that just doesn't have it, right? It's kind of just a down year. This team feels like it's way too talented to be in its current position. Although, to be fair, they played with essentially 3 completely different teams. So no matter what, just to be completely objective about it, again, there's no more room for moral victories, but still, there's just something there, and it feels like the Cats might be about to sort of break through, especially now as they approach full strength, or as I like to say lately, they're one Jordan Longino short of being at full strength for the first time all year. And the Big East tournament it's 4 weeks away from today, I believe, is the first day of the Big East tournament. So the end of the year is quickly upon us, and time is running out for Nova to grab the statement wins. But it seems most likely that they're going to have to do their talking at Madison Square Garden this year. So speaking of champions playing in Madison Square Garden, let's pause to give a nod to Jalen Brunson. What can we say about Jalen Brunson that hasn't already been said in the lead up to tonight's special event or just in the years past, as he's been properly celebrated as truly one of the greatest Villanova basketball players of all time. He's a 2-time national champion. He was the 2018 National Player of the Year. He was Sporting News College Player of the Decade, which seems pretty massive. And now he's in his second contract, signed a pretty big deal with the New York Knicks in the offseason, one that even many Knicks fans claimed he was overpaid, even though he's something around like the 16th, 17th, 18th highest paid point guard. And he has made that look like a fantastic deal for the New York Knicks organization, as he's having a generational season for them at point guard. And really, I mean generational. It's been, I believe, at least 25 years since they've had point guard play like this. And Villanova honors him tonight by retiring his jersey into the rafters at the Finneran Pavilion, of course, keying in on his contributions as a then amateur athlete at Villanova, with Coach Wright in attendance to be honored himself and to help honor Brunson. So one thing we do have to call out is the double dip here. Curious scheduling by the university, with Coach Wright being honored as we speak right now in a ceremony before the game, and Jalen Brunson due to be honored at halftime. A bit strange to me that the university did not make these their own distinct events. However linked Jay Wright and Jalen Brunson are. They both have sort of, I think, earned their own evening. Maybe it was some sort of request from them. Who knows? Definitely a little bit weird on the scheduling. And I think why I'm focusing on Jalen Brunson here a little bit, because I feel like we're going to have plenty of opportunities to commemorate our Hall of Fame coach on and on and on, again and again and again, hopefully as he stays close to the program. But regardless, this all amounts to Villanova royalty being expected to be in the building, with the current team feeling like they must be on the verge of breaking out now, again, close to full strength for the first time all year. Tonight has all the ingredients for a feel-good, torch the nets kind of win. The pundits might say that is loaded with wishful thinking, and it certainly may be, but that's kind of what the mojo that I'm feeling headed into this game at least. So let's reintroduce DePaul. DePaul comes in at 3-10 in the Big East, 9-15 overall, which is currently good for second to last place, 10th out of 11th in the Big East. One of their few conference wins, of course, came against Villanova about 4 weeks ago on a Tuesday night in Chicago at the Wintrust Arena, where Javon Johnson and Deshaun Nelson led the way with a combined 42 points as DePaul pulled away late in that game, 75-65, just one in a long string of sort of Villanova games that they were, very much in, and then just couldn't, sort of stop putting the ball through the hole in the fourth quarter of the game. So it's certainly among the worst losses of the year for Nova, and one that they'll look to avenge tonight by properly avenging home court on a very important night for the Villanova culture. In addition to forwards Johnson and Nelson feeling hot coming off their last performance against the Cats, you also have to worry about guard Umoja Gibson averaging 16 points a game on his own. I think over his last 5 games, I think there was one where he had the handcuffs put on him. Maybe it was a little foul trouble, but in all the other games, he's putting up points like a beast. So I think tonight will be a good, you're really looking for the Cats to take a step forward. You can't get swept by DePaul. Probably shouldn't have even lost one. The Cats really have no margin for error on a bad loss. Although, again, like I said, the at-large tourney bid hopes might be squashed anyway. So at this point, you're just looking for continued improvement. In tonight's case, continued improvement means coming out of this game with a win. The thing to point out, though, since we did see DePaul last and we dropped that game, the Cats are a totally different team. Villanova has Justin Moore back, and again, like I've said multiple times now, they're just one Jordan Longino away from being full strength for the first time all year. Justin Moore has had the team looking very different through the 3 games last week, even though it came out translated to 0-3 in the win-loss column. The team definitely looked like a different, higher caliber team against higher caliber opponents. And there is much more to expect from Justin Moore getting back to 100%. He did have his best game, I believe, statistically, box score-wise, at Creighton, but still is, he's been getting up shots, but he hasn't quite been super efficient shooting. That is to be expected, right? We expected him to take a couple games to kind of get his groove back and start to, remember what it feels like to kind of see the ball go through the net. You've seen that sort of click in for him in the few games that he's played, just kind of needed to see some go through the hoop. But the point is, he's got the team looking like a higher caliber team, and he's not back at full strength yet. And you kind of see him getting there, so that hopefully over this course of this stretch, which presents a real opportunity for the Cats to turn in a win streak before it gets much tougher at the end of February, hopefully has him back to full strength and the Cats playing their best ball as they get Longino back as we head into the kind of final games of the season. So let's talk about keys to this game tonight. I think that the first thing I want to key in on is inside presence and rebounding. In the first matchup between these two teams, Villanova did actually win the overall box score as far as rebounding. I think it was like 35-32. But the DePaul forwards feasted. They all put up really good rebounding numbers. So I think you're looking for the Cats really not to get crushed on the boards tonight. I feel like we've said that a lot this year. It also feels like this is one of the areas where Nova has shown improvement from the beginning of the season. I feel like this was a night in, night out concern in November and December, and it's an area where the Cats haven't been dominated as much in games where you may have thought they might. Maybe they're not perfect and maybe they've struggled at times, but they've definitely shown improvement in this area and are a better rebounding team right now in February than they were in November. And it's just one of those boxes that you want to make sure you check tonight. Secure the glass. I think the other component of that is establishing Eric Dixon. He's really good, and he's clearly before the Creighton game, I think may have been a little frustrated or seemed like frustrated that he wasn't getting the offense sort of run through him as much as we would have liked over the last couple of games. He played really well in the Creighton game. I think that they drew the last play for him to shoot that three, which unfortunately didn't miss. But, just again, speaking wildly anecdotally, as I got to see him in person last Wednesday night in Milwaukee, he looks really sharp pregame. He looks really hungry. And to be honest, he looks like one of the best big men in the Big East when you work through him and you unleash him as the weapon that he is. Of course, if he can stay out of foul trouble. So you want to see the team establish the offensive identity running through Dixon, kind of working the kick out when it's not there. Another key to tonight that you want to see is continued tightening up on the defense to mitigate the breakdowns that lead to the wide open threes. Obviously, having Justin Moore back is a huge bump for the defense. When they get Jordan Longino back, it's going to be a similar bump because they're two of the team's best defenders, right? So you still really at times through all three games last week, you had defensive breakdowns where you just saw it coming a mile away and there were wide open three balls given to the other team. We want to continue tightening the defense to avoid seeing that as many times, and a perfect opportunity to do it against, a team that's in the bottom tier of the Big East. Like I've said already, I think Moore's continued improvement is a huge key tonight and just all games going forward. We're looking to see increased shooting efficiency, I think, as sort of the primary measure of, getting back to quote unquote full strength. He's clearly got the intensity ability as far as the minutes played. Now we want to see that increased shooting efficiency and sort of that confident shooter's touch sort of restore in his recovery as well. I think lastly, the thing that the Cats just need to lock down is winning the fourth quarter. Can't afford to just go quiet and go silent in the fourth quarter in the last 5 minutes of the game. This was much talked about this week in media availability between the team and the coaches and the media asking questions about it. And the team seems to have their head on straight about it. It's a focus issue. It's a leadership issue. It's a coaching issue. It's all the above. Everybody was there to take accountability and sort of talk about the focus that they need to really make sure that this doesn't continue happening, because it's absolutely been an Achilles heel for this team. So with that, the Jay Wright ceremony should be about wrapping up. Like I said, they'll be doing the halftime Jalen Brunson, and I just have to hope that FS1 is going to check in on that at times at halftime, but maybe not. Who knows? We'll see. And that's going to about bring us down to game time. So we will see you Saturday night ahead of the Seton Hall game. But for now, refill your bevy, get over to Fox Sports 1. I'm Chris Notaro. Ladies and gentlemen, it's tip time.